Right, we're back. This video is going to be a complete buying guide. It doesn't matter if you're buying off of AliExpress, Alibaba, eBay, wherever you're buying your kit, these are going to be the answers you need. Because when I first done it, I was relying a lot on, when I'd done it through Alibaba, like you've seen in the previous videos, I'm relying on a lot of what they're telling me. And a lot of it was true, a lot of it was good, but there were things I think I could have done better just for performance or even to save money. So this is going to be the video. So in front of me I've got 3 batteries, 3 controllers, 3 hub motors, all different spec. So we're going to go through the amps, phase amps, we're going to go through dropouts, voltages, everything what you're going to come across when you come to buying one of these kits. First we're going to start with, this is the first thing you see and the first thing you work off of. You'll see dropout. So when you look at these kits, for instance, you'll see this one will say this is 150 dropout. You'll see this one says it's 145 dropout. This one's 135 dropout. And when I say, I know it sounds silly, and you probably know, but if you don't know, I thought, what's a dropout? I was thinking, what's she going on about? So I've done you a little video. So you have 2 distances. You'll see a graph. I'll put the graph up now. And you see all these different numbers with lines going to different places and everything else. And you think, what is this? You see your dropout line, you see your actual line, and you think, okay, so which one is it? So when you see the furthest line what goes down, and it goes from one side of the axle to the other side of the axle, that's your axle distance. So your axle is what sits on the outside of your dropout. Okay, so what is your dropout? Here's the other video. Your dropout is your measurement from the inside where your wheel slots in. So from that side to that side, that's your dropout. On this tyre was on that bike, that was about a 130, 135. Most bikes are 135, like bicycles, 135, 150. Then you get into the 170s, then the 190s. They're the fat tyre bikes, because obviously they have a wider frame. That was a 130, 135. You have a bit of a give it in the frame anyway. And where that was an old bike, it weren't the best one I could have done it on, so I had to stretch it a bit. So that's your dropout. So when you first come across a kit, it will say your dropout. So now you know. So you measure, all you have to do is measure that back bit. Once you've done that, now you crack on with everything else. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go through all of these different specs quickly. They'll come up on your screen, and then we can discuss afterwards what we need to marry up to what's going to be worth buying, what's not worth buying, and we're going to go from there. So we're going to start off with the Amore. This is a 72 volts, so that's your voltage. That's the power, continuous power is going to pump through. It's a 32 amp hour battery. So an amp hour is basically your capacity. That be your distance. So your voltage is your power, your amp hour is your distance, how much it can store inside, how much you're going to get. So there's no correct science on how far you can get, because it's depending how fast you go. It's a bit like if you drive an electric car. If you're putting your foot down all the time, you're going to get less miles. So a 32 amp is decent. You're up there sort of. A lot of people on other bikes will have a 50 amp. They can have 50 amp, 60 amp. That's when you're getting really high. But 32, that's decent. That's a nice sort of middle ground, maybe a bit higher than middle. It has a line current of 200. So your line current is the max continuous power it can pump out. Okay? So just think of the battery, this is your heart. This pumps your blood around your body. And then when you move into your controller, this is your brain. This is what's going to tell your hub motor now and tell your battery how much it wants. So that's your brain. And then we go down to your hub motor, and that's your legs. That's what's doing the work. Your brain's telling your legs to move. So it's like a foundation. We build up from the battery, and then we go on from there. So we're up to a 200 line current on this, and then it has a 320 line current peak. So when you see line current and line current peak, a peak is the max it could give you for a limited time. So normally it sits around 8 to 10 seconds. So 200 is your continuous line, what it's comfortable with. It could give you that all day. But that's your max, remember. So you don't always have to, it's not always going to pull out your max. That's if you've had it set up to that and you're gunning it and you're full on, that's your max. So we've got up to that's 72 volt, 32 amp, 200 line current with a peak of 320. With these batteries, obviously they're a bit more expensive. You get a Bluetooth BMS in it, so you can connect it to your phone. I'll show you now. And you can actually put in what you want max to come out. So if you don't want to be pushing your battery all the time, say I want 180, or on your peak, I only want 5 seconds. So the more you spend on the battery, obviously the more technology, it's like everything in life you're going to get, and the more you can play around with it. So that's that battery. So now we know what lines are, and we know what peaks are. We're going to move on. This is a 48 volt battery with an 18 amp hour capacity. So that's nearly half the size of this one. So obviously you're not going to get as much distance as you would out of this one. This has a line current of 60 and it has a peak, I believe a peak's about 80 on this, around that sort of level. So this is more for your sort of 3000 watt motors. So this is when we're sort of moving down the scale. We're going to move over to this one. This one is a 48 volt as well, so the same as this one, but it's only a 13 amp capacity. And as you can see, look at the size difference. So again, we've dropped down. The line current on this one's only about 25 to 30. So this one line current's 25 to 30, this is 45, and this one's 200. So you can see as you move down the scale, what the difference is. This one peak, you're probably looking about 35. It's not going to be a lot. So this is your bog standard battery. Then you start getting into a decent bicycle battery, then you get into your really nice batteries. Move on to the controllers. So this controller, this is just a Chinese mass-produced controller. You can't program this yourself. You can't do anything with it. It has all the cables ready in it for click and play. So you can plug in all your accessories straight off of it. This is for your hub, from your hub connector straight from your hub motor. So this is quite a standard controller. It's a 60 amp line current. We'll move over, this is your far driver. So once you start getting into the far drivers, you can program these through Bluetooth. So I've got videos on this, you can have a look how you program them. This one's, same as this one, this is 48 to 72 volt, so you can use either one. This one is a 48 to 72 volt. This one's only got a 55 amp line current, because this one's a 72200. So the 200 on the end, the 72s for 72 volts, and then the 200 is the phase amp. So the phase amp, we haven't got to that part yet. So the phase amp, I'll explain in a minute when I come to the hub motors. So your phase, or I'll explain it now. So this has a 55 amp line continuous. So this one has a 60, this one has a 55, and your max phase amp is 200. So with these ones, where you can program it yourself, I've also got a video on that, I've just said that, you can put in your phase amp. So your phase amp is your torque. So your line current is your power, your continuous power, and your phase amp is your torque. Your torque is obviously your speed off the line, your instant boost of power. So where you can program these, you could put this down to 10 line amps if you wanted to, and 10 phase amps. Obviously you wouldn't, but you could, because you can program it. But the max this one can do is 55 to 200 phase amps. Then we move on to a bigger one. So this one is the 72450. So 772 is the 72 volts. You can use it on a 48 volt. You're not going to get the best out of it, but you can. And it's got 450 phase amps, so your torque. So this one has 200 phase amps, this one has 450 phase amps. So this is now, when we move on to hub motors, you start understanding why you would need certain phase amps with certain hub motors, because bigger wattage you can put through it and everything else. So we've left that. Now we're going to move on to the hub motors. This hub motor, so this one's 16 by 3, so we've got 16 inch by 3, so that's the width. That was for, that come with the wrong axle size for me, but that's for a Razor Rambler 16. So it's a 16 inch rim. So on this one we have, I'll show you now. Right. So this one's 3,500 watt. This one is a rated current. So when you see rated current, that means what it's comfortable having the line current at. So when we come back to the beginning again, obviously I told you the 200 line current on this one. This one has a 45, this one has a 25. So this, to be at its peak, would have to draw 50 line currents. With hub motors, it's not always exact science because it's like anything, they put on their restrictions. They don't want you to max it out. I've put 150 line current through one of these and it's been fine. But that's what they say. So we'll go from what they say on this video. So that's a 50 line current. And that's for a 48 volt to a 72 volt battery. We move over. See, this is when we start getting bigger. So this is the QS 205 5000 watt. So this one's a 3,500 watt. This is a 5,000 watt. This one is comfortable at 50 line amps. This one is comfortable at 150 line amps. So already, this hub motor is saying that it's 3 times more comfortable with 3 times more power than this one. This one can be a 72 volt as well, obviously. This actual rim is 17 inch. This is more of a motorcycle rim, so you could have this on sort of like a crosser, an off-road bike, and so forth. So there's that one. So then we move over to this one, and this one, this is your typical bicycle conversion kit. So this one's a 3,000 watt. This one's actually comfortable at 60 amps. It's a 26 inch tyre, and it's the actual rim is for a 195. So a typical bicycle mountain bike, you're looking at anything from 195, then you start going up to 205s, then 250, then you get into the range of a fat tyre, what's 4 upwards from that. So this one's comfortable at taking 60 amps, this one's comfortable at taking 150 amps, and this one's comfortable at taking 50 amps. Right, one last thing before I start wrapping up. When you go to buy your hub motor and you see, for instance, 5,000 watt QS motor, or you see a 3,500 watt motor, or you see a 3,000 watt motor, it says rated. So that's your rated wattage. Then you often will see peak. So on this one it says the peak is 12,000. It says about 6,000 on that. It says similar, around 6,000 for that. So when you're wondering why does it say peak, and why when you watch a lot of these YouTube videos and they're like, I've just put 15,000 watts through my motor, and you look at the motor and you go, oh, but the motor's only 5,000 watt, what are they on about? Basically what the max wattage works and how it works is, so I have a calculator here. So if we go onto the calculator, so we have a voltage. So say I was doing this battery to this hub, so I'll put in 72 volts, and then it says current, so that's your line current. If I'm running 200 line current off of this straight into this, so I'll put in 200 line current. Right, calculate. 14,400 watts. So if I have this set up for 200 watts on this motor, I'm gunning it, I've reached full power. I'm pulling all the power I can out of it. I've got 14,400 watts now going through this. So when you see these videos and it's like, I've done 14,000 watts on my bike, or 14,000 watt motor. No, the rating is 5,000, but That's the peak, that's the max I've got out of it. What's going through it is 14,400. So when you're wondering why that is, that's the reason. And that's why I'm saying the battery's the most important part. Because if I was doing it with this battery, I'd only get about 2,000 watts. I wouldn't even be reaching its rated capacity. So that's why that's important. Right, so now we've got all the spec in place. So when you come to buy, you've done your dropout, you're going to get asked, what motor do you want? If you're doing it through like Alibaba. Obviously if you go onto eBay or AliExpress and you don't talk to anyone, you have the information in front of you. Well, it's not always best because you don't get the full information. I like to talk to people. You're going to get asked, what's your dropout? So my dropout is, if we go from this one, 135. Right, what do you want? I want a 5,000 watt. So okay, a 5,000 watt would be this much. And that's all you know. What battery have you got? Oh, I've got a 72 volt battery. Okay, no problem. You can have this one, there you go. But the problem is, at that point, you don't know, unless you don't know your battery or you don't know the rating on the hub motor, you could be buying a battery like this, was 200 amps line continuous. You could be buying a hub motor like this, what comes in a 5,000, what sits around 80 amps. And you could be buying that for that, and you've just spent £600 on this battery to only being able to do 80 amps on this, and you've just wasted your money. So when you come to buy, we start from the battery. This is the foundation, right? So get your idea of your budget. You go off your budget. So if I could only afford this battery, it would cost £200 odd. And this has got a 45 amp line continuous. Yeah, so that's my foundation. I've brought this battery. I now need a controller. When you do this online, you're just going to buy, oh, that's a 48 volt controller, I can buy that. So you've bought this controller, you don't know what line current it has or anything else. So this one's 45 amp. So when you go to buy a controller, okay, I'm going to buy the 72450. That has a max of 200 amp. Yes, you can change it down to 45, but now you've just spent over £200 odd on a controller, what you don't need. When you could buy one of these for about £80, but has a max output of 55. You go on your settings, and now you drop that down to 45, you're married up perfectly. Your amps are perfect now. So now you've got your battery, so that's your foundation. You're going into your brain. Your brain's now capable of running off of your battery. You ain't wasted money on some big controller or a smaller controller you didn't need. So now you're going to come to your hub motor. Right. I want a 72 volt, but I want a 5,000 watt motor. Okay, a standard 5,000 watt motor for a bicycle, you can run about 80 amps upwards. So you're going to buy a hub motor that's capable of 80 line amps when you've only got a battery what can produce 45, what's not going to produce anymore. Your controller is only going to pull out 45 from that, and now you've got a 5,000 watt where you're going to get voltage lag because you're not putting it through its paces, you're not putting it to what it's capable of, and you've now just wasted your money. So now you look at a bit lower, so you go to a 3,000 watt like this one, what has a max of 60. So now you're looking at it and you think, okay, I'll get a 60 watt 3,000. My battery can produce 45, it can have a peak up to 60, and I've got a controller that can go up to 55. So you go, okay, that all sounds quite nicely, and that all can fit together. So you get these three. You can go on your settings, so you can change this one. So you tell your settings on level 2, I want 45 amps line being pulled out of it. I want phase amps of, you can go 3 times over, so we just say 120. And we know that that's going to be fine. You can go your fast mode, mode 3. We can go, okay, we're going to go 60 because we know this has a peak of 10 seconds in this. So we're going to go 60. We're going to change, or we're going to go 55 because we don't want to max it fully out. We can go 55 on the controller, and we know that can go up to 60. So we know we're not going to burn this out. We're not going to burn that out. And we're pulling enough from our battery. So now you're working at your peak, and now you've not wasted your money on everything else you want. So that's the scenario. So when you're looking and you think you want 5,000 watts, you want 8,000 watts, always remember, you come back to your foundation. Your foundation is your battery. If that only has a battery management system and a line current of like this 145, that's all you're going to get out of it. Don't matter if you think you got a 5,000 watt hub motor, that's all you're getting out of it. You're not hitting its potential. When the same with this one, this is obviously 72 volt, 200 amps. This easily could do 200 amps line current with a 450 phase. So now you're reaching your potential. So you're going to buy this, you're going to get 72 volt 450. You're going to tell this, I want 200 line current, I want 450 phase amps. This would handle that all day long. This battery would handle that all day long. So would your controller. So now you've married up everything perfect. But then, same scenario. If I brought this one for that one, and this one's only got a max of 60 line current, and I'm sitting here with a battery of 200 line current, what's it doing? It's not doing nothing, because all you're going to be able to do is you're only going to be able to produce the 60. Yeah, you could probably push that up to 80 or a bit more, but then you've still got 200, you've got another 120 current you could use. So when you do it, look at your budget, start with your battery. If you can spend more on a battery, then you know you're going to spend more on a controller, and you can spend more on a hub. You work your way up. There's no point starting at the hub motor where you're going to go big and big and big, then you've only got a small budget for your battery. There's no point. So when you come to do it, we'll recap. Look at your line current, your BMS on your battery, then work off of there to, okay, we've got 45, what controller is going to suit us? The 60 would be fine, because it would only pull out the 45 anyway, because that's all that would let you take it out, but you're not maxing it out. You got the 55, that would suit perfect. So we look at that, and then we start looking at our hub motor, and we think, what's the max current we could get out of a hub motor? So we know we can get 60 out of that, so we think, yeah, that will suit. So that's how you buy your kit. Don't always think big and think the hub motor is the end of it. The hub motor is the end of the line. The batteries are foundation, and we build off of that. When you build a house, you build your foundation, you go straight off of that. And that's the starting point. Then we look at our brain, then we look at our legs. There's no point in putting sports shoes on an 80-year-old. They're not going to run 10 seconds, are they, 100 meters? So I hope that has been useful. I know I've gone on in places, but I hope the graphics help, and this just gives you that idea when it comes to buying, and you have the confidence to buy. If you have any comments, you want to ask any questions, please feel free to put them in the comments. If you could give me a like and a subscribe. I've recently just gone straight over the 1,000, so thank you so much to all my subscribers. We've got the new kit coming up. I've put a poll up, if you can go and have a look. We're voting on what colour we should spray it. That kit should be turning up this week, so there'll be a video coming out for the unboxing. The new battery's been ordered, and that's the next steps. But once again, thank you for watching, and please like and subscribe. Thank you.